Whitmore loses the dribble. Scottie, here's RJ, looks around, shovel pass quickly, lets Thompson fly by, lines it up, and knocks it down.
No more trade talk until the summer, folks. It's all just basketball from here on out. And while we did get to speak to Kelly Olynyk and Ochai Agbaji, the latest acquisitions for the Toronto Raptors, they did not play tonight against the Houston Rockets. Despite that, the Raptors-Rockets game had a little bit of everything. A reunion, a lot of Canadian flavor, a blowout, and then a nail-biting finish that showed the hallmarks of a young team as the Raptors pulled off the W.
I mean, it's a good win for us, and it's at the same time it's a learning experience. Like being in a game like that, when it comes down to the wire, cleaning up those mistakes on defense, cleaning up like even rebounds at the end of the game that kind of like kept them in the game a little bit, getting a little bit better organized, stuff like that. Yeah.
Fred VanVleet made his return to Toronto, and while he didn't suit up, he did receive a tribute video and a standing ovation in a touching moment. But the Raptors could have probably used VanVleet tonight, as Toronto was in control pretty much throughout, jumping out to a 14-point lead after the first quarter and leading by as much as 22 throughout. Immanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett took turns cooking the Rockets on offense, and defensively, Jakob Poeltl looked as stout as ever, registering 3 steals and 6 blocks on the night. Poeltl especially was great in limiting Alperen Şengün to 7 points and 7 rebounds, and Şengün was benched in the fourth quarter of the game.
Everybody, they just stepped up. I think in the first half we had 27 deflections, we had 13 steals, we created 21 points off of those steals. So that's something that we're gonna continue to build. Anytime that looked like for us that we have a little bit of fatigue, then we slow down. We missed a couple of layups or wide open shots. We just gotta continue building that stamina on both ends of the floor.
Quickley and RJ combined for an efficient 46 points. Meanwhile, Scottie Barnes struggled from the field, shooting just 25%, but nearly finished with a triple-double. Despite the good game from the Raptors as a whole, Houston still made this one interesting in the fourth quarter, thanks to the Canadian Dylan Brooks, who poured in 3 threes late in the game, finishing with 20 points to cut the Raptors' lead to just 1.
I told guys, like, we just need to learn how to close those games. You know, what it takes, how to execute, how to, get that extra rebound that we need. It came down to last couple of possessions that we needed to get a stop. It's going to be really good film for us to watch and then learn.
Now, the Raptors still escaped with a win and have won 2 in a row, which means if they pull off the next one against the Cavaliers, they get a pizza party, ladies and gentlemen. The 3-game curse is over. Now, for the film room tonight, I wanted to talk about the offensive connection that's developing between Jakob Poeltl and both RJ Barrett and Immanuel Quickley. The connection between Jakob Poeltl and RJ Barrett is really developing, and it starts with these empty side actions where RJ can kind of slip into space. He has that downhill momentum and these nice left-handed pocket passes to Jakob for finishes. A similar idea here, but it just looks very different. It's not an empty side pick and roll. It's not even a pick and roll at all, but you look at RJ catching it in motion, this get action to get RJ going downhill. He's able to get downhill, draw a bunch of attention, get past his man, get the help, and then a nice dump off to Jakob for the finish. And RJ is great at creating his own shot in these moments too. So here he is attacking the closeout. Again, he draws help, but he can use that right hand. This was such a nice pass in the moment. The Rockets were making a bit of a run, and just a beautiful recognition by RJ to dump it off to Jakob for the finish again. Now for Quickley, it looks a little bit different, but most of the results are pretty much the same. Instead of trying to barrel into the rim, Jakob screens try to open up IQ in the middle of the floor where he can get into his potent floater game. This time he kind of high screen and roll, nice skip pass to Grady, who pump, dump, and then nice triple here. Great shot by Grady there. See him reject the screen here and then get downhill. Nice deceleration, thinks about it, and then a nice pass right here. Pick and roll here between Jakob, and this is where Jakob can really open up IQ's, finishing game in that floater range. Look at IQ able to get his defender in jail because of the Jakob screen, and so he's able to settle into this floater. And so I asked Coach Darko Rajakovic about this after the game, the connection that Jakob is developing with RJ, with IQ, and this is what he had to say.
It's just the start of those guys trying to figure it out together. We had those two guys when we were rehabbing in Houston. We had a great workout. They were able to go together for like 45 minutes, and we dissected pick and roll game to the point with those guys, what they need to look for, how we need to set screens, what angles, what they're doing against overs, unders, how to create threes, but also how Yak needs to be able to, when Quickley is turning the corner, how Yak needs to get offensive rebounds.
And that's it, folks. That is how the Raptors won, and it looks like more and more their offense, the structure of their offense, is going to be these pick and roll type situations between RJ and Jakob, IQ and Jakob, Scottie and Jakob, and that's what makes Jakob so important to this basketball team. And that's why I think Kelly Olynyk, adding another big man who can, roll to the basket, a guy who can stretch the floor, a guy who's also a great screener, I think that is going to add another element, another player to play with here for BBQ. And that's why the Austrian BBQ connection is amazing, because I really do think Jakob's importance to this team. I mean, I've mentioned it a couple times this week already, but you see how important he is on the defensive end, the way he's able to just kind of clean up things. He had 6 blocks and 3 steals tonight, just a mammoth in the paint in that drop defense, the defensive coverage that they really had success with tonight. And then on the offensive end, it's sealing off their man. It's the screens that get RJ downhill, that get IQ downhill. All of these are so important to the development of the Raptors' star players, and they wouldn't be able to do it without Jakob Poeltl. It's just that essential to what they do. So the Raptors pick up a win against the Rockets. They got one against the Cleveland Cavaliers today. It should be interesting to see how they do that. The Cavaliers have been playing some really good basketball as of late, so it's not going to be the same game it was on January 1st when Immanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett made their debut. The Raptors won fairly comfortably in that game. This is going to be a bigger challenge. The Cavs are just playing some of the best basketball in the league right now. How are they able to sort of match that? And it's most likely that Kelly Olynyk is going to play in that game, and Ochai Agbaji is going to play in that game. So what kind of wrinkle will those two be able to bring to this team, initially at least? It's going to be interesting to watch, ladies and gentlemen. But I just, from this perspective, from this game, you see that just the connection between Jakob and these guys is so important. It's just essential to see how these guys develop. Bringing up the Steven Adams, Ja Morant comparison again, I think it's really important to get to that point. People will bring up Scottie Barnes and him struggling. He only shot 25% from the field. I think it's fair to bring up, but I also want to credit the Rockets defenders. Dylan Brooks was really physical with him. Jabari Smith Jr. was really physical with him. Jeff Green even. Shout out to Samson. We were talking about this afterwards, but Jeff Green was even, a pretty good body to throw out at Scottie Barnes. And this is something that Scottie has to improve at. This is something that Scottie has to figure out. But when he can't out-physical a team, when he can't out-muscle a team, when he can't just be the bigger, more physical player, and there are other guys who can match him on that other side, how is he able to do that? How is he able to find his own shot? Usually when that happens, when a team can match him physically, he settles into mid-range jumpers. He has that soft touch around the basket that he can shoot over defenders. He settles into some three-point shots. The counters are just not there. The ability to create his own shot outside of the post-up is just not there. But it's developing, folks, and this is what you kind of have signed up for. The rebuild requires seeing these type of performances so that you get the 30, 10, and 10 games eventually. And from what we've seen, Scottie is capable of. So he's going through this learning process himself, to be honest with you. And you see that in his recent stretch of basketball, seeing the added attention, seeing the fact that he's playing the best defenders on the other side. The best defenders on the other side are guarding him on most nights. How he's able to adjust to that, how he's able to deal with those things, it's not going to be an overnight process. It's not going to be something that he's just going to figure out on the fly. It's going to take time, and it's going to suck sometimes. It's going to look great sometimes, and it's going to look like it did tonight sometimes. So he'll figure it out. It'll be all good. We'll see what he can do against Mobley and Jared Allen tomorrow, which will be interesting, folks. Thank you very much for tapping into the recap. As usual, subscribe to the Raptors Republic YouTube account. They do great work on the website. Obviously, if you want, you can go ahead and pay to behind that paywall type of thing. They explain it much better than I do, but they do incredible work on the writing side of things. So I think that it is worth the money. And so, yeah, tap in, folks. Do the things you guys got to do to support independent media, but also some great Raptors work. Thank you very much. See you guys for Cleveland.